so that we can have a good interactive discussion here. So welcome everyone to the 2021 kickoff of the Be Your Own Boss Bowl competition. This is the first of 6 events we're going to be holding every Wednesday night for the next 6 or 7 weeks. Tonight we start off with an interactive discussion called How I Won the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, and so it's only appropriate that we would invite back one of our grand prize winners from a previous competition. And this year we've invited the founding team of SwitchStream to join us this evening. So we're thrilled to have them with us tonight. We think you're going to get a lot out of the program and listening to their journey as to how they won the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. But before we begin with that, a couple quick things. So first, let's see. Whoops. So first, I just want to remind you that we are recording the session this evening, and we do plan to show it to people who have registered to compete in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, but were not able to attend this evening's session. So just be aware of that. That's why we're encouraging you to put questions into the chat in case you don't want to be recorded as part of the program. So let me start off with just an overview of the competition. The Be Your Own Boss Bowl, we're now on our 23rd annual Be Your Own Boss Bowl competition. And in terms of eligibility, it's open to the entire Temple University community. So that includes students, alumni, staff, and faculty for all 17 colleges within Temple University. We do ask that there is at least one member of the team who has a Temple affiliation from that Temple community, and we also ask that it be the leader of that team. So if you're from Temple, you can be the leader of that team. You can have members that are outside of Temple, members from other universities. That's fine, but you do have to have at least one member from the Temple community. In terms of businesses, it can be new businesses that are just starting up or that haven't even registered yet, or it can be existing businesses, as long as the businesses are not more than 2 years old and have not raised more than $50,000 in external institutional funding. So if you're self-funded or friends and family funding, that's fine. But if you've received funding from an angel investor or a VC of more than $50,000, that would exclude you from the competition. Also, if you're currently in business, you can have sales up to $100,000 in gross revenue and still be an eligible competitor for the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. And we encourage cross-discipline teams. You can have teams of up to 4 members. And cross-discipline meaning people with various specialties, so operations or marketing or technology as their area of specialty. But if you're a solopreneur and you haven't built your team yet, that's fine too, because participating in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl program and some of the resources that I'm going to share with you in just a minute are a great way to build your team, find other people to ask to join your team. This year, we're going to have 2 tracks for the competition. There'll be an undergraduate track and an upper track, and in the upper track will be alumni, staff, and faculty competing against each other. Total prize value is over $200,000 in cash and in-kind service packages coming from firms in the Philadelphia region supplying services around legal counseling, accounting, marketing services, design, and hosting services. You also, as one of the finalists in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, you also get to participate in the IEI 1810 Business Accelerator Program, which we run over the summer. That program gives you exposure to a set curriculum, mentors, guest speakers, and also introductions to investors through our company showcase that takes place at the end of the Business Accelerator program. And then there's the very coveted crowd favorite award. And while it may be the smallest cash prize, it's one of the most competitive of all our cash prizes. And then last but not least is by participating in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. And if you make it to the finals, there's a good amount of PR that you get with that. And Temple helps to promote our Temple-made businesses. So another a real benefit to being in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. In terms of the submission, we've evolved the submission process and the requirements over the past few years. And now we've tied that to be closely aligned with the requirements that fit with other accelerator programs and with what investors are actually looking for from startup companies. So we ask you to submit a 1 to 2 page executive summary. You'll produce and submit an investor style pitch deck and a 3-year financial projection, profit and loss statement or income statement. And then if you'd like, you can also submit a 2-minute video to help explain your business if you feel that that's going to add value to your overall presentation when you submit. Now, some important dates that you need to make sure you're aware of. So I've already mentioned that tonight's the first of a number of programs we're going to run every Wednesday night from 5 to 6:30. Next week, we'll be running the first of our 5 workshops. And we encourage you to sign up for each of these workshops. Each one is focused on a portion of the submission. And so we try to provide guidance and some insights and some tips on how to think about your submission, how to prepare it, and also the resources that are available to help you with that. And at the end, the last workshop will be an overall summary with final tips to wrap up your submission. Also, we offer mentoring hours from our e-strategists and also a full array of Be Your Own Boss Bowl mentors. And that's available to you right now. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. On March 17th, we have a special peer mentoring session that's hosted by our Entrepreneurial Student Association. That takes place at noon. And then on March 22nd, Monday night, is expert mentoring night. It's that final opportunity to come meet with a number of our mentors to get final questions answered and final tips for doing your submission. Submissions are due March 24th. So you're going to definitely want to keep that date and mark that date. And then after we have our hundreds of reviewers who go through all of these submissions and turn their scores in, and we've selected the finalists, we'll do the finalist announcement on April 9th. The following week, we bring in each of the finalist teams. They get a personal one-on-one pitch coaching session from a team of our pitch coaches to help them prepare for the finals and for the judges' Q&A session. And then, of course, April 22nd is the final live announcement of our pitch presentation winners and the award ceremony. So these are key dates. You want to make sure you make note of those. But the first step in the process is you have to register. Now, while you don't have to register to participate, we strongly encourage that you register, because by registering, you're going to have access to a number of resources that you wouldn't normally have access to and that you wouldn't know about if you don't register for the competition. So please register. Here's a QR code that'll take you right to the registration page. Once you've registered, you'll get a welcome email from the IEI. And in that welcome email, there will be some other links for you to get access to these other next steps in the process. So there'll be a link to register for mentoring support. There'll also be the links for you to register for the upcoming workshops. So this is why it's so important that you register for the overall competition first. There'll also be a link in there for our shared resources folder. And this is a folder where you can get access to templates, examples of past winners' presentations, tips, and other important information about the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. And then last but not least in this process is get onto Startup Tree and sign up for a mentor. Look for a mentor. So I mentioned this available resources file, and I just want to highlight some of the things that are in there again. So we provide videos, actual presentation slide samples, and sample pitch decks from previous winners. We provide templates for the executive summary and templates for the profit loss income statement. There's also important notes about the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, and all of the dates I've mentioned earlier, they're all highlighted in there as well. There's more details on the eligibility policies. I know some of you may have questions about how you might fit into those eligibilities. They're more clearly defined in the eligibility document. There's also a submissions rubric for you. So it's a guide to how the judges are going to score your submission. And that's really important so that you know exactly the areas and the kinds of questions they're going to be looking for you to answer as part of your submission. And then last but not least is for each of the workshop sessions, we will be recording the sessions, but we'll also be posting the presentation slides from the workshops and the videos. And so this is where you'll get access to those slide decks and those video recordings. So it's really important you register for the competition, and then you get access to all of this great information. As I mentioned, you're going to want to start up to get mentoring. Mentoring is one of the most valuable resources we offer for this competition. And I'm sure our team from SwitchStream will probably talk to that to some extent. So here's a QR code to sign up for Startup Tree, which is really like LinkedIn for entrepreneurs. It's the way that we build our community of Temple entrepreneurs, but it also connects you to entrepreneurs all around the world. There's over 200,000 entrepreneurs on the Startup Tree platform. So we really encourage you to do that. And through Startup Tree, you'll be able to go in and search very easily using tags for the IEI or eStrategists or either of the Be Your Own Boss Bowl mentor tags to look for, find mentors, and request appointments with them. It's an easy way to request appointments. They're automatically scheduled. All of our mentoring is now being done virtually by phone or by Zoom. And you can choose to meet with one mentor on a continuing basis, or you can meet with multiple mentors and get different perspectives on your business idea. So this is a tremendous resource, and I really encourage you to take advantage of that. Lastly, there are a few other resources that are available to you at Temple University that you really can take advantage of and leverage as well. One of them is the Blackstone Launchpad. They're kind of a sister organization to us, very focused on entrepreneurship, and they can also provide help and assistance to you. The Temple SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, is another great place to go to get some questions answered and get access to resources such as legal help. And then the Temple Writing Lab. You may have a great idea of what it is you want to say, but struggle with how to say it. You can go to the Temple Writing Lab, and they're there to help you with that as well. And one that isn't on here is also the Temple Business Library. They have great resources at the Temple Business Library. And in fact, someone from the Business Library will be joining us for one of our workshops to talk about how you can leverage and take advantage of those resources to do your market research. All right, with that, let's move into our program for this evening. So I want to welcome the founding team of SwitchStream. They were our 2020 grand prize winners, as well as first place winners in the upper track from last year. So Sarah Stanton, Rachel Stanton, and Tyler Berezowski, thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome to the program. And so with that, I'm going to just kick it off and ask you to maybe introduce yourselves. And so tell us a little bit about SwitchStream and what you do.
Sure, Greg. Thank you for having us. I'm Sarah Stanton. I'm Rachel. I'm co-founder of SwitchStream. We also have Tyler on the line. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, guys. I'm Tyler.
So he's our Chief Technology Officer. And a little bit about our company. So we are an assistive technology startup. So we make devices, which is what you see up there like this. It's our first device called the Smart Hub, and it's meant to help people with physical disabilities to control their electronics easier. So we work with different occupational therapists to basically build better assistive devices. And we're actually about to launch our first pilot at an assisted living facility. So that's something we've really been working towards, and we're so excited about. So that's kind of just like a quick overview of what we do at SwitchStream.
All right. And so what inspired you? I mean, it's a really cool concept, but what inspired you to go into this particular field?
Sure. So I think the inspiration for SwitchStream really started with our mom. She has been a special education teacher for about 20 years now. And because of that, we have grown up around the classroom and we've really seen firsthand how students with special needs don't always have the best resources. So fast forward a little bit to college, and our friend and now co-founder Tyler, he was making devices for school children with cerebral palsy. So when we found that out, we knew we had to team up so we could make better products for these children.
Okay. Now, you won first place in the upper track, as I mentioned, and grand prize last year, but that wasn't your first time entering in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. Can you tell us a little bit about your early experiences? When was the first time you entered? What was that experience like?
Yeah, thanks for this question, Greg. So we entered way back in the day. This was 2013,
Junior year.
our junior year of college. So we entered with a clothing company. And back then, the Be Your Own Boss Bowl competition was a little different. You had to write a 10-page business plan, full financials. I was very involved. So that is where a mentor was pivotal for us. We had a mentor and he really helped structure our whole plan and really dug in with us and like read everything and commented. So a mentor was perfect for that. We couldn't have done it without him. And then we entered the competition. We weren't expecting to get in, and then we did. And then we were scrambling to make a pitch and try to figure out all of that. It was our first time doing it. And we ended up getting third place. And at the time, we didn't win any funding. So we were pretty upset. But we knew that we had learned a lot and that it was a really good process to go through. So I guess the moral of the story here is, if at first you don't succeed, make sure you learn a lot and you can bounce back.
Okay, all right. And so what happened? I have to ask, so what happened to that company?
We still have the company. It's basically more of like an online, it's t-shirts, so with clothing, and we're actually surrounded in our basement by a bunch of t-shirts
Boxes of shirts.
from the company. It was called Fruitstrology. And we, after the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, actually, though, so there was a really cool snowball effect. So the Be Your Own Boss Bowl happened, and then the PR that we got that you were talking about, Greg, was great. We ended up on a morning show, some little TV show where they interviewed us about our company. So we kept going for a few years after that with the company, just from the press that we got at the Be Your Own Boss Bowl.
Okay. And I wanted to really highlight that because it's, being an entrepreneur, it's not about just the one idea. Most entrepreneurs have a lot of different ideas and a lot of different directions they want to go in. And I know some of the people that are on our session tonight who are planning to compete in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, they're working on their second and third ideas as well. Yeah. And so it's just interesting, that when you stay at it, when you persevere, right? And when you're passionate about what it is you're working on, good things can really happen. And I think SwitchStream is just an awesome example of that. You stuck with it and you moved into a completely different area, right? T-shirts is completely different than adaptive assistive technology. But you were able to really leverage, again, as you said, what you learned from that first launch into this business, all right?
Yeah.
And so let me ask you a little bit about that, because I think you had a little bit of additional success that took place between Fruitstrology and between SwitchStream for the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. So what was that stepping stone that you used there? Do you know what I'm talking about in terms of the Lori Bush Fund?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, are you talking about the Lori Hermelin? So we entered that competition
2019.
Yeah, in 2019. And again, from all of the skills we had learned about pitching in the first Be Your Own Boss Bowl, we entered that competition and we had a pretty good pitch and we won a little bit of funding that time, which really jump-started our the beginning of the company.
It was really nice too that was about female founders. So, that was what that whole competition was based on. So it was really cool to kind of have that focus.
Yeah.
But definitely what we learned from the first Be Your Own Boss Bowl, we definitely used to kind of help pitch in the future. So it's really a huge help.
Yeah, I mean, being around through all of that time, it's been a wonderful experience for me to watch you and your team grow. in every aspect of participating in the programs. You know, it's been a constant learning experience, and I can see how you've taken and internalized each of those steps and used it to try to help propel you forward. So let's see. So going into the Be Your Own Boss Bowl last year, if you wouldn't have won, what were the benefits you would have seen maybe coming out of that? What other benefits do you think you would have experienced? Because not everybody's a winner, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest benefits is all the feedback that you get from all the mentors, the judges. I think there's judges from around the country read the plans, right?
Mhm.
And that feedback alone is really valuable. And we used a lot of that feedback in our pitch later on. Yeah, so that was definitely a goal to force ourselves to put our plan on paper and really have it vetted from a bunch of professionals.
Okay. And so, I've stressed as part of the resources that we make available, all of the mentoring help. You've mentioned already how having a mentor really helped propel you in your first Be Your Own Boss Bowl experience. Do you have any tips in terms of how students or teams can engage with mentors? Did you find it more beneficial to work with one mentor and stay with one mentor, or have you utilized, which I know you have you utilized, multiple mentors? And how do you think people should go about engaging with it?
We had a few mentors, and that worked out well for us because we were able to get a lot of different viewpoints on our company. Some mentors would help us with our business models. Others were more focused on our financials. So
Yeah, I think just making sure that you keep in contact with them and having them really look through your business plan, your deck. I think that was just really key, getting their feedback. And sometimes the feedback is critical from the mentors, but it's really good because it uncovers the value of your company. So I think just working as closely with them as you can, that was really kind of a key, and making sure that you continue to keep in touch with them, because you never know, sometimes you can continue that relationship down the road. So for one of our mentors actually owns an e-commerce company. So he actually said that he would work with us after the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. So you really never know kind of what connection you might make and continue to keep as you go.
yeah, and as far as how to engage with them, we had phone calls with our mentors a couple times, like maybe once or twice a week. And what we do is, if we had a specific question for them, we'd get a quick slide deck together and put very specific, like, hey, here's our problem. What do you think? Here's what we're thinking, and give them something to react to. So that's like, because their time is short. They don't have all the time in the world to go through all of your questions, but if you have something you're really stuck on, give them some information to react to, and that was really helpful.
That's excellent advice. So Tyler, not to put you on the spot, but let me throw one over towards you. So you're the CTO. You're on the technical side. So who have you been looking to? Is there someone you've been able to go to when you've got technical issues, technical challenges? Have you been able to utilize a mentor, if not through Temple, but where have you been able to go to get the kind of assistance you have, or get questions that you might have?
That's a great question. So Temple's a great resource also. The Temple Engineering Department is fantastic. So if you guys have any questions regarding a business idea, I'd recommend grabbing a professor or any student from the engineering department and potentially bringing them on your team. So that's my first plug. The second one is, like, I currently still work at a technology company. So like a lot of my comrades here are super awesome guys that just want to like talk about and fix hard problems. So I'll discuss with them in general. In addition, a few of my old bosses that particularly were in the startup scene that started this company that I currently work for and have left, I've also referenced them a few times for inspiration. Inspiration, but normally for me, the technical, surprisingly for the CTO position, for me, it hasn't been technically hard problems that are the issue. It's more ends up being like, I'm only one person and I can't do everything. So you end up in a position where, like, I have to hire a number of external contractors to do development with me and get things done in a timely manner and make sure. And that's where, surprisingly, even as in the CTO position, going to people in my company with business experience have been where I've learned the most, actually. And actually, for me, it hasn't been hard technical skills that has been the most, that I've been growing the most in, I think, experience.
Okay. All right. And I don't think I asked you this early on, but so how did you guys meet?
Lifeguarding.
Sesame Place. We've been friends since we were what, 16 years old?
Yeah, probably not.
From like the same hometown.
So kismet, right? It was just it happened, right? Well, and
I would say it was happenstance because we like knew each other in Sesame Place, and then like we didn't talk for a really long time, and then I saw Sarah on the train, like
Temple,
On the way to Temple.
yeah,
Temple.
yeah.
well, that's probably one of the most asked questions that I've heard in 10 years that I've been involved in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl at Temple is, how do I find a partner? How do I find somebody to join my team? So I had to ask because I was hoping maybe you'd have, some really good insights there. But for those of you who on tonight's session who are still looking for the answer to that question, let me point you to Startup Tree. That is a great place to go to start looking for connections in the Temple Entrepreneurial Committee or community rather, and then in the global entrepreneurial community. And this past summer, as they well know, they participated in the Summer Startup Studio, and one of our other teams in the Summer Startup Studio this year was looking for a technical co-founder. And they actually went onto Startup Tree and posted that. Hey, we're looking for a CTO to join our business. This is what our business is all about. If you're interested, contact us. And 4 weeks later, they had found their CTO. And being able to identify that person, get them added to the team was a big step in their next step forward with their business, which was them getting accepted into another accelerator program that just started in the fall. So I recognize that for many of you on the session tonight, that if you're a solopreneur, if you've got this idea and you really are passionate about it and want to move forward, but you're not really sure how, or you need extra help, I encourage you to go to Startup Tree. And if you have questions about how to use that and maybe how to help start that search process, contact me. Happy to talk to you about that. And maybe you'll have the same kind of success that they had over the summer as well. So sorry for a little diversion, back to the program here. So are there any other resources at Temple that you were able to take advantage of or utilize, as part of your journey over these past 6 or 7 years in your entrepreneurial, journey?
Yeah, so the strategists were really helpful. We've used them for years, and I've kept in contact with them. They were very helpful for whenever we had a specific issue, because a lot of the strategists, some are marketing and finance. So I would definitely recommend using the strategist. What else did we?
We've utilized Blackstone Launchpad as well to help with legal and connecting us with developers. They have a ton of also great resources and people there that are really committed to entrepreneurship, as we said earlier. So
yes, and the SBDC, the Small Business Clinic, they helped us with a legal matter with our Fruitstrology shirts one time. So we have definitely been involved in Temple ever since we were there, and even after we graduated.
Yeah. Well, good. And that's why we're here. We're here to serve students, but also, alumni and afterwards, right?
Yeah, it's very helpful to alumni, which is great, because sometimes, students or specific colleges, you just drop off and they don't, your college doesn't help you anymore, talk to you anymore about it. But the Entrepreneurship Institute with alumni is very, very good.
Thanks for that plug, because we have almost half the people that are on this session are alumni. So that's good. So it's a good plug. All right. So are there any lessons that you learned in terms of how you approached? So we're 9 weeks away from the submission date. And at this point in time, to try to think back to where you were, and what advice can you give in terms of how to get from today to that final submission? Because it is, admittedly, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of information to pull together and to prepare that pitch deck. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually wrote down a few points. So if you're taking notes, or if you want to write something down, grab a pen and paper. One of the biggest lessons that we learned is to try to have a validation plan. And it's important to validate your product or your service, or even if you just have a business idea, to validate it with customer data. So if you were able to draft up a survey and send it out to some customers or prospective customers and say, hey, what do you think about my product? What do you like about it? What alternative products are you using right now to for your solution? And really try to gain that feedback, and then make sure you include that in your deck, because that is what shows the judges that your business can have traction or already does have traction, and that your product solves a need. So validation plan is something that we did. We drafted up a survey. I think it was maybe 4 months before we entered the Be Your Own Boss Bowl. And we went on Facebook, and there were specific groups. There was occupational therapy groups. There were some teacher groups that we targeted, and we asked a bunch of questions. And so we had data points from about 30 different people that we were able to include in our deck that said, here's our product. It solves a need. People like these features the most. So we had people rank features of the hub. So that is one of my biggest thing, is a validation plan through some type of customer interaction. Another one would be spend a lot of time writing your executive summary and your deck. We spent maybe 2 months writing. It took a lot of time, and you may feel like you're going out of your mind with writing this. But it is very hard to fit everything you need to fit in a 2-page executive summary and then in a 9-minute presentation. So it should take you a lot of time, and figuring out what the balance between what to cut and what you need in your plan is a very fine line. But that's why spend time reading it, spend time working on it, read it to your mentors.
Yeah, our methodology was to write more and then go back and cut out some parts that we didn't need. So spend a lot of time definitely writing and doing that research, because it's definitely a key part. But what the judges look for of really crafting a good pitch deck.
Yeah, I think those are the big ones.
Okay. Yeah, in days gone by, 10 years ago, the Be Your Own Boss Bowl was actually a business plan competition.
Yep.
And teams would have to submit, a 10 to 20 page business plan. Well, as days have gone, as days have passed, the entrepreneurial ecosystem has changed. What investors are looking for has changed. And so it's migrated mostly over to being a pitch competition. And when you submit, you're submitting a pitch deck, but you're not actually submitting, and this is just clarification for the people on the session, you're not actually submitting, a recorded 9-minute pitch, as Rachel mentioned. That's what you'll do if you're selected as a finalist. So for your submission, you're going to submit a pitch deck with lots of notes in it that explains what that pitch deck is really trying to, convey. And that pitch deck can be anywhere from 10 slides to 30 slides, right? It can be as long as you want. We don't encourage you to do 30 slides because the reviewers will get kind of bogged down with that. But it's important that your submission has to answer all the right questions in order to get you into the finals. And then that hard work of how do you now skinny it down into even just that 9-minute recorded pitch, the video pitch, that's another step. But that's where we're here to help you. So we'll provide that pitch coaching session for every team in that week between the selection and the finals in order to help you get ready for that. All right.
Yeah, and Greg, I'll just add to that. Yeah, so the pitch deck that we entered with the notes was much longer than what I think it might have been maybe 15, 16 slides. So
Right.
definitely go detailed on the notes so that so the judges can understand your slides really well. And then if you get to the point where you are pitching, the IEI does a great job of helping you kind of cull that down.
Exactly. Yeah. So can you share with us maybe as the winners last year? I believe it was $20,000 for first place and $40,000 for grand prize. So what was the plan for the money? What have you been able to use it for, or what are you still planning to use it for?
So the first thing we did with it was to hire some firmware developers as well as some mechanical engineers to help finish the design of our hub. So that was really the key thing. So being able to bring on those people was really valuable. Another big, large chunk of the funding is going to go to developing our software and our platform. So we're getting ready, gearing up to do that now. And another really cool thing was we were able to start building out our brand. So we were able to buy some marketing materials, which are little stuffed animals that we were able to switch adapt and begin selling for the holidays. So we're starting to get our name out there to generate beta testers. So things like that, just building out the brand, using it for development and to fund our pilot. So these have all been really key aspects of where this money is really coming in handy.
Okay. And also, in addition to the cash prizes, there are these in-kind service packages with various professional services, again, from suppliers around the Philadelphia region. Were you able to leverage any of those? And if so, how did they help?
Yeah, we had a legal package with Ballard Spahr, and they helped incorporate us and give us all the different type of documents and non-disclosure agreement, things like that. So the legal package was pretty big. What else did we
Okay.
do?
I believe an Amazon Web Services package, which we have yet to use, but that's going to be really helpful as we start to kind of build out our platform and get out on servers and things. So
Yeah.
those are the two.
Yeah, and these in-kind service packages are helpful because otherwise you'd have to be taking the prize money that you won and using it to pay those same people to do those, to get those services, right? So.
And legal fees definitely add up pretty quickly. So having the legal package has been a huge help so far.
All right, great. I'm glad to hear that. So are there other, after you participated in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl last year, and then you went on to participate in the Summer Startup Studio program as well, have there been any other competitions or any other programs that you've participated in since then?
Yeah, so we did an ed tech competition, and that was through UPenn. UPenn has a lot of like innovative programs as well, and that helped us to gain some connections in the education space. And right now we are in a mentorship program with Comcast's Lift Labs. So Comcast is doing, Lift Labs is doing a lot with entrepreneurship in the community. So I suggest looking into the Lift Labs, and they are actually helping us design our pilot.
That's awesome news. That's great. And one of the things we try to do through the IEI, and while we may not have been the ones to tell you about Lift Labs, but we're also in the process right now of putting together a comprehensive list of accelerator programs and competitions from all over the country. And then we'll be making those available to the members of our 1810 Accelerator program and people who've been competing and participating in our competitions and in our startup studio programs as well. So it's another good reason to stay in tune and stay in touch with the IEI so that we can help to make you aware of these other opportunities for you to be able to drive benefits, whether it's cash, connections, mentoring, who knows. So we're getting close to the end of my questions. Is there any secret weapon or tip that you want to share that you think is really what helps to push you over the top and differentiate you?
Well, so when, since everything is virtual right now and all the meetings are through Zoom, when we are reaching out to competitions or networking and trying to get a meeting with maybe somebody high up in a company, we will send over just a very quick one-page PDF overview of our company. And it's more pictures than anything. It kind of looks like a slide deck, more pictures, a little bit of words, but it just quickly explains who we are and kind of like what we are asking for out of the meeting. And that we've gotten a lot of good, that's been well received. We've gotten a lot of feedback because what it does is it saves time from the person that you're trying to connect with, from having to like dig in and figure out what your company is about or go onto your website and read through your company. So that one-page PDF overview, we send that out and we get a lot of good feedback from that.
Okay. And then how would you imagine your life being different if you had chosen not to go into the Be Your Own Boss Bowl competition? What would the world look like today?
Yeah, life would be a lot different. We this is our full-time job right now. So we are, we would probably have different jobs if we hadn't entered, but the Beer on Boss Ball has given our company the visibility and the credibility to be able to say that we're a funded company. So without that, like being able to say that we have been funded makes us like gives us so many more opportunities and gets the foot in the door. So I really, we are glad that we entered.
Yeah.
Okay. And then any final advice for this year's participants?
I do. I have, if you're taking notes again, I wrote down a few bullet points that really helped us. So number one, don't be afraid to explain why you. So briefly, even in your deck and in your pitch, explain why your team or why you are the right person for your company. The judges really do care about what your motivations are, what your passions are, and you can do it pretty succinctly, but why you is very important, and that's what we learned when we were pitching. And then so why you is number one. Number two was, again, that customer testimonial / the feedback to back up your product. So you still have a few months or a few weeks before you enter the competition. Try to draft up that survey, start asking questions, and get those data points. It's one thing to say that you have a great product, but it's a much better thing to say, my customers like my product or my service, and these are the reasons why. And then the last one is, if you can, try to build a team. I know we already alluded to having a team. You can be a solopreneur, then this competition is not impossible doing it by yourself. But if you have a teammate or if you have some friends who have different skill sets, I would definitely ask them, reach out and try to get some teammates. Because the biggest difference from when we did the Beer on Boss Bowl in 2013 with the clothing company to now is Tyler. He's part of the team, and our engineer really helped us kind of build this company up. So yeah, so those are my three: why you, customer feedback, and try to build a team.
And another thing too to add, I would say definitely use Temple libraries, because they have every data point out there that you'll need in your deck. So we spent a lot of time combing through it all, but don't be afraid to really get in there and get those data points, because they are going to be really important for your market size and kind of how you're going to go after it.
They're all great points, and I would echo all of those. And yes, for the solopreneurs out there, the people who haven't formed their team yet, don't be discouraged. We have had grand prize winners in the Be Your Own Boss Bowl that were solopreneurs. There have been a number of previous winners who hadn't formed their team yet, but their idea was good, their concept was well thought out and well presented, and they really had a vision for what they were doing. But more importantly, they had a plan for how they were going to execute it. And then bringing on those team members was a lot easier, because it was easy to convince them to come aboard. They were able to explain it more easily and convince them that this was something that was worthwhile and worth getting involved in. And that's partly how they helped to build the team. So if you're out there as a solopreneur right now and you're thinking, oh, this sounds like a lot of work, it's work for sure, but it's not impossible. And we've had, other solopreneurs go on to win, both as, students and in the alumni, from the alumni contingent. So that's a great point. All right. Well, I just want to thank you again for answering the questions I had prepared for you this evening. Why don't we move over to our viewing audience and see what kinds of questions they might have for you as well, and see if we can help get them launched on their way to becoming the next Be Your Own Boss Bowl winner.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
All right. So I'm just looking through the chat really quickly and see if there's anything in here I may have missed.
I'll apologize, Greg. A lot of it is me sharing a ton of links and resources. So if you haven't already, and I don't mean you because you already have these, but if you as an attendee have not already taken a look at the chat, I tried to add a ton of links in there. Javier, I think it was you who said that one of the QR codes wasn't working. If you can just let me know which one, I want to try and get that fixed.
Yeah, sure. It was the I forgot the name, the tree.
Startup tree.
Startup,
Tree
yeah.
link. Yep, I'll go ahead and check that one now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm just going to really quickly just throw this slide back up again, because you held up one of these one of these little guys. But they're really cute. Hadn't realized you had launched that before the holiday season. I know on your, I think it was on your Twitter feed, you posted a picture of one of them sitting on the fireplace mantle next to the holiday greens and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really very, very, very cute. But the device on the left here is your hub, and then each of these are the actual adapters, right? That allow them to actuate the switch.
Yeah, so those are, yes, little toys that we use that people can use with little switches. They plug it right in and it starts singing and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah. And then I also quickly want to just show, let me go back over here a second. I also just want to show, this was another version or another model of the hub with the SwitchStream tag there, and again, as a thank you. But if you want to go on to Twitter and follow SwitchStream and watch their progress, and as they advance, please feel free to do that. All
I
right.
also chatted their Instagram page as well as their website in the chat.
You're too good, Linz.
thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions anybody wants to ask from the SwitchStream team? Or of me, either way.
I had a question.
Sure.
Hello, I had a question.
I can hear you. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was a finalist in 2010, and it was a very, very hold on, I'm sorry, my internet's going in and out. I was a finalist in 2010, and the competition was very heavily focused on the business plan. Yeah. So now it's just way more focused on a presentation than a business plan.
The competition is, again, there's 3 elements. There's a 1 to 2 page executive summary. There's a pitch deck. So it's an investor style pitch deck. So it's a series of slides, as if you were going to stand up and give a pitch with that slide deck. And then there's the 3-year financial projections. All right. So they're the 3 different elements that you would submit. However, let me just echo something that Rachel and Sarah said, and that's that a number of people come into this and they think like, oh, a 1 to 2 page executive summary, that sounds pretty easy, and it's only 1 to 2 pages. But listen to what they said, in that they spent weeks, if not months, writing it all out and then condensing it down into the executive summary. So I know teams that have approached this by just sitting down, they write up the executive summary and they're done. And some of them who've put a lot of thought and effort and research into it are able to take it from their head to this 2-page document straight away. And that's great if you can do that. But recognize that in the executive summary, there's like 10 different sections. And in each section, it may be only 1 or 2 paragraphs. But that 1 or 2 paragraphs is really the summary of what might be 4 pages of information. And then you have to figure out what's the most important part and how you condense that down to fit it into the executive summary. And am I correct? Sarah, Rachel,
Yeah, I mean, it's a full business plan that because like you said, there is every single section that's part of a business plan in there. So that's what we did. We wrote each section as a full business plan.
Yeah, we actually wrote a full business plan first and then made the executive summary.
So yeah, it almost is essentially kind of the same amount of work as actually writing the full business plan, because you're doing the same amount of research for every section.
Yeah, and what's changed between 10 years ago and today is that 10 years ago, if you ran into an investor, you could hand them your business plan and they might take it and read it. Today, they would never take a business plan. And so we've evolved the competition to be all about, the pitch presentation, the pitch, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't have to do all that hard work and all that research to get to that point. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people think. It's like, oh, I can, a week before the submissions due, they sit down and they'll throw their pitch together. And then they wonder why they don't get selected as a finalist. But there's a lot of work that needs to go into it behind the scenes. And then what you actually present, what you're going to submit, is really just that summary. It's that distillation, where you've really pulled it all together, all the fine points together.
Okay, and my other question is, the pitch deck just needs to be like a slides. Could it be a video, or is it just slides are recommended?
You have to submit a PowerPoint type slide deck. You have to. Okay.
It'll be in a PDF format. Each page of the PDF will be one slide with your notes underneath. And if you in fact register for the competition, so you register your interest in that shared resource folder, there's actually they're very simple steps. It's just like put it in notes mode and here's how you print to PDF. But that way, a lot of people's slides might only have 10, 15 words. The majority of the content of your slide will be in that notes section so that the reviewers actually know the message you're trying to get across in that slide.
Right.
So you basically do have to write the whole business plan. It's just how you presenting. Well, what we have to turn in is just different.
Well, you don't